Record. All right. Well, thank you everybody for attending tonight. Appreciate it. Rachel just texted in for all the men in the room that had kids that played football. Her son just sacked the quarterback and broke a finger, so she's heading to ER with their son. So it's kind of a proud moment, but yet you don't want him to be hurt either. Like, okay, he got in there and got the job done. You know, it's part of what happens there. So anyways, Rachel will miss us tonight as she heads off to ER literally just a few minutes ago. I asked about Limitless because I had a lot of friends that were there. Some of the guest speakers are friends of mine as well. I heard from Rob Bailey over the weekend, towards the end of the weekend. He was one of the speakers there, and he just, he summed it up. He's like, this was an epic event. So pretty cool that they pulled so many speakers together to have an event like that at a low price. What I was most interested in, and Jocelyn, who's on the road right now, part of our group, is what the overarching message was. It looked like they had 25 speakers, all the top names that you've seen in the speaking tour, and over 7,000 people. And the overarching message that I got from a few people was, never stop chasing your goals and objectives. Have them written out, know what they are, but never stop chasing them. And I love that theme. We all get to that in a different way. But, the idea is that if you've got something written down or something that you're chasing after, if you're consistent with it, you'll get there. And I really think that that's what the encouragement was over the weekend with all those successful people at that event. I'll be interested to see if they do a recap on that. So with that being said, I think Sam will be hopping on the call here in a minute, because this message is equally for her, my message to her as well as myself. This message applies to me, and I believe it applies to everybody. And the topic was reset. And if you listen to the podcast that Rod and I do on a regular basis, if you saw today's show, it was basically the same theme. And I just felt like it was a great topic to cover with this group, have some transparency from my own standpoint, and talk about what I mean by reset and why that's important in your business life and what that'll get you. So the first thing I want you to think about, this is more of an investment tool, but I'm going to apply this to our lives and business. And that is a term that they use in investing. It's called dollar cost average. Dollar cost average. And if you've invested in 401ks or mutual funds, if you've got a broker, they're always selling you on dollar cost average, which is actually a positive thing to be sold on. What that means is it's an investing the same amount of money in the same stock on a regular basis over time, regardless of the share price. Okay, regardless of the share price, because over time, the strategy tends to achieve as good or better results than trying to time the market, buying high, buying low, et cetera, right? Dollar cost average. So if you look at your 401k plan or your mutual funds over a 20-year period, you'll see all the ups and downs, the highs and lows. But at the end of that 20-year stretch, you're going to see your dollar cost average is like 99.9% up, unless you just had a terrible mutual fund. And I'd like you to think about that term as I walk through some transparency and what I'm talking about, the reset. So when I say, what does it look like to reset? What that means is the consideration of what your goals are. We talked about that for a minute, and that's what they were talking about over the weekend, is what are your goals, but what is also at the same time how you recharge your batteries, how you take some time off, how you step away, how you pull back and look at from a distance what you're doing. Is it the right thing? Are you headed in the right direction? And I think we get caught up in a daily grind of pushing. And, maybe you've got your focus where it needs to be, but you could be making a slight pitch to the left or a slight pitch to the right instead of keeping it on target. So by pulling back, taking a little time away, and looking at where you're heading, I call that a reset. And that could also mean just taking some time off, getting away from the business, centering yourself, whatever that looks like to you, time away alone, time away with your family, time away with a buddy, hunting trip, but pulling away with enough time to come back and look at your overarching plan and consider, are you on the right direction? Are you on the right path? Do you need to reset what that path looks like? I'm going to go through a number of ways that you can do that. I want you to consider the dollar cost average example in your reset and in your business. And when I look at my own life, the last 5 years that I've been business consulting and coaching, I've had the opportunity to make more money each year than I have in my entire career. Every year that I worked for the man or owned my own tequila company, et cetera. And the point of saying that is I have a lot of highs and lows as a business consultant, as a coach, highs and lows of customers, no customers, lots of customers, lots of deals coming through, no deals coming through. And those highs and lows could be a day, they could be a week, they could be a couple months. I've had a couple months where it's like, wow, what are we going to do here? Right. And when I look at that and I'm in the moment, the stress goes through the roof, right? Like how I'm going to make this nut this month and hit my goals. Right. And it can turn into frustration or disappointment in myself. Well, maybe I'm not working hard enough. Maybe I'm not focused. Maybe I need to do this. Maybe, you start running through all these what ifs or these maybes of what you could and should be doing. But the reality is, when I look at a 5-year window or a snapshot of what I've been doing, my dollar cost average example over the last 5 years is I'm much further ahead in the value bucket each and every year. And so the importance of telling you that is that maybe in the moment you're looking at your business or what you're chasing and you're gaining frustration over what you're looking at and right in front of you. And if you are willing to take a reset or step back and look at, what that trajectory has been, then you really have a good snapshot is, am I going in the right direction? Are things on the path that I set out for them to be? Or do I need to reset my life, my values, reset my goals? Or do I just need to reset my business and what I'm doing? The direction that I'm going there? Or do I need to reset who I'm working for? So don't be afraid to pull yourself back. The reason why this became a topic tonight is in between recording the podcast with Rod last week, launching it today, I obviously have discussions around my house about business and life and money and all the same things you talk about at your houses. Nothing's any different for me than it is for you. And, Samantha says to me the other night, she goes, well, we need to be really careful about, what you're coaching and how you're coaching, because sometimes, we're not following that exact example, and I'll give you one example. I haven't been in the gym for a month now, right? But most people know me as being physically fit. It's been a lot of time in the gym, being really healthy. I don't have an ounce of regret or guilt that I haven't been in the gym for a month. At my age, I feel healthy. I just had a great doctor's visit. My blood work came back. I have all these things that are in the positive bucket of my health. So why do I need to feel guilty for not being in the gym for the last month? I need to pull back and go, okay, what is my dollar cost average on my health? Well, in the last 55 years, I've taken pretty darn good care of myself. And it has allowed me the opportunity or the ability to step away for a month and not feel bad about not being in the gym. Now, will I get back there? Of course I will. It's a lifestyle for me. Am I going to encourage you to get into the gym today? Yes, I am. I want everybody to have a focus on their health. But at the same time, I want you to understand the message here is that none of us are perfect. None of us are consistent. But if we can look at our dollar cost average on each area of our life to determine, are we doing the right things? Now, if I was overweight and I didn't live a life of health and fitness, I wouldn't have anything in that dollar cost average bucket to get me through a month of not working out, right? So I just think that that's a really clear example of what resetting and looking at, okay, am I doing the right things for what's good for me, what's good for my values, and where I'm at? The same thing goes for business. Okay, so let's take the workout scenario and apply that to business. Okay, right now I'm in a position where I've got a couple really good clients. There's some longevity to them. I'm happy about that because oftentimes consulting can last 3 to 6 months, maybe 3 months tops, depending. And I'm looking at my clients. I've got a level of comfort with that. And I know that I'll have to start doing some work towards what I feel would be the tail end of these clients to maintain my business average, right? But today I can feel guilty for not grinding it out every day. Today I can make myself feel that guilt for not getting up at 5 a.m. and making all the calls and, trying to find one more client to stack on top of my other two, But when I pull back and I look at my dollar cost average in my business, as I'd suggested, when I look at a 5-year snapshot, I've had a great 5 years and the trajectory continues to go up. So what I don't want to do is guilt myself into thinking, well, I'm not doing enough right now. And I also want to afford myself the time to follow my values. I didn't check an email since Saturday, from Saturday afternoon until this morning. And yesterday, Sunday, which I spent the whole day with my family, we slept in, we rode horses, we did chores, we ate meals together, we watched TV shows together. I spent half the day in the back of my mind going, man, I haven't checked a single email. You know what? Is my business okay? Are my clients okay? And part of that guilt comes from me thinking that I've got to be grinding it out every day. And this is where, again, that reset conversation comes from, is I need to reset my mind and realize, hey, this is a family day. It's okay not to check emails on a Sunday. And it's okay not to get up at 5 a.m. on Monday and feel that guilt still and jump right in, right? Matter of fact, my daughter had this bright idea last night. She was gonna sleep with the dogs. I don't know if anybody in the call has a mud room. Taylor, you probably do. Bruce, you probably got a mud room too. I don't know about you, Rod, but mud rooms where the dogs sleep because they come in from the outside muddy and dirty from the pasture. Our mud room smells like horse poop half the time. And my daughter felt like she needed to spend some more time with the dogs. So she decides to pull a sleeping bag out, laid a little bedroll down, put the sleeping bag down, and slept with the dogs in the mud room last night. And my wife checked on her because the dog was getting antsy about 4 a.m. And she noticed my daughter was completely pushed off the bedroll, head's barely on the pillow. Both dogs had taken up the bedroll, living their best life. And, my daughter's knocked out cold. Well, when it was time to get up, literally for her, 8:30, 9 o'clock, she was knocked out, tired. She's been useless almost all day because she's so tired. She didn't get any sleep with the dogs last night. Well, I took a moment, well, more than a moment, I took about 55 minutes of nap time with her. Now, normally, honestly, I would feel guilty about laying down and go, okay, I'm going to take a little nap. But, for me, I thought, what? There's my daughter sleeping away. She had a rough night. I'm going to lay down with her and enjoy a little bit of time. So for me, looking at my business, looking at my values, understanding what's important, and looking at my average business success, hitting my target the last 5 years, I should be able to do that guilt-free. And I want to encourage everybody in here to look at your own business, look at your own lives, and look at what you're doing as it relates to your values, and try to do things that are important to you guilt-free. And if you're not able to do that, then seriously consider a reset on what that might look like. Look at your business, look at your family, look at your values, and look at how you approach your business in the most important times, whether that's in the 9 to 5 work hour, or if that's in the family time, or your personal time, or your are your reset rest time. And make the tweaks that you need to make so that you're in the right zone. Now, I wrote down some bullet points just about like the importance of taking a vacation. And this isn't exactly what I mean by reset, but I do want to remind people, especially the entrepreneurs in the group, don't forget to take some time off and take a vacation, right? So here's the quick vacation bullet points I wrote down. Rest and relaxations, right? Vacations provide an opportunity to recharge and rejuvenate. It's interesting because I was thinking about that as I wrote this. I don't know the last time I actually took a vacation where I went to recharge and rejuvenate without grabbing my iPhone and checking emails and having a certain level of connectivity to work. I was actually struggling the other day to really think about what that looked like. I think it's been way too long for me. Second thing, vacation time. Taking time off can increase your productivity. Taking regular breaks actually enhance your productivity when you return to work, so it gives you a chance to replenish your energy. Gain new perspectives. And that's really what we're talking about tonight, is gaining a new perspective, a reset of what you're doing, that time away to look at exactly where you're at and come back. You'll have that fresh mindset when you come back, like, okay, this is what's important to me. I just took a few days off and gave my brain a little rest here. Now I see what I'm doing, whether that's right or wrong. Okay. Obvious, improves mental health, taking some time off. Okay. Might be good for me to take a little time off and jump back into my fitness routine after I'm done enjoying some Mai Tais on the beach, maybe. But it's good for mental health. Time off can also help enhance creativity and inspiration. One of the things that I missed the most about running all the miles I used to run training was I would always get the inspiration on the long runs, those 2-3 hour runs, thinking about my business and where it was going to go. It'd give me a chance to catch up on some podcasts and be inspired for what's next. So time off will do that for you. And by the way, time off doesn't have to be days. It could just be time set aside during the day to reset and recharge. So don't think that you've got to go take a literal, 3, 4, 5 day vacation just to reset, recharge. Vacations also help strengthen relationships. The obvious one is with your families. If you've got one, if you're single, or if you're a young adult, time off gives you a chance to build relationships with people that maybe you haven't made the time for in the past, and do that with intention. Hey, I'm going to take a little time off, and this is what I hope to achieve: some rest, relaxation, inspiration, and maybe build a new relationship or enhance one that you've got. And then finally, time off will give you time for that personal growth and that self-reflection. And self-reflection is a different way to say what I've said on the theme tonight, and that is reset, to reset. Okay. So let's jump into what does a reset allow you to do, or how do you reset? We're looking at our overall business. If you step back and you go, okay, I'm doing this for the wrong reason, or I'm making a little bit of a left turn, I want to be going the other way. How do we consider the reset? One thing that we talk about a lot, and I'm always harping on this, is it allows you to look at your values. Okay, so again, map out your values and priorities. Always with me, it's God and family, God and family, God and family, right? So part of your reset should look at your values and priorities first. Okay. Step 2 that I always talk about is take those values and priorities and roll that into your current goals. If they don't match, if they misalign, then reset those goals to align with your values. Using myself as an example, okay? If I'm looking at my current goals and I've got this big dollar figure out there that would require me to have 4 clients instead of the 2 I like to keep, all of a sudden it's like, wait, am I chasing the dollar and at the expense of time with my kids? Because right now that's what it would be. So maybe in that case, I would reset my goal, lower that dollar so that it matches what my values and priorities are. And that's time with my kids, right? So sometimes you might have to even adjust your goal down or sideways because your life values have changed a little bit. So it's important to always look at that, especially as it relates to your business, if you're an entrepreneur and you own your own business. Another tool, and I haven't talked a lot about this, but because of opening up, talking about the Limitless event this last weekend, is part of your reset could be seeking inspiration. As a lot of you know, I'm a huge fan of Andy Frisella's podcast, The Real AF. It's been a lot more political driven recently because of the world that we live in. So I'd say on the inspiration side, it's been a little bit light, but you can find inspiration through great works, great books. Other entrepreneurs, we talked about Alex Hormozi's book a few weeks ago. There's some inspiration there on how to grow your business, but having a reset allows you that time to step back and find that inspiration to keep building or to rebuild or maybe to change direction. Okay. Number 4 on that would be step out of your comfort zone when you're resetting. I see it so often in businesses that I consult for, is that, you go in like, Jim, I just don't know. It's not working anymore. Well, it's not that it's not working. Typically what it is they've gotten a comfort zone where they're not willing to push themselves any harder. When they're so comfortable with the status quo that they're just allowing it to be. Now, I'll give you a real live example on a client, something that we were talking about today. Montana ranch problems for those of you that live in the city. If you've got animals and you live in Montana, you know that hay each year is an essential part of feeding your animals. And last year's hay crop was terrible. So going into the winter, we're going to see high prices on hay, limited availability of quality hay. And this particular ranch that I'm consulting for, I think we've got about 65 tons of hay right now that we're working through, and we'll need double that before the end of the year. Now, 25% of that 65 tons is not very good hay. In other words, we'll probably use twice as much, and we'll throw some of it away because it could have mold. It could have been cut and not dried out efficiently. Why am I telling you all this? Well, when you look at the status quo, and we've always done the things that we've done, in the case of this ranch, they've got 50 horses, or 50 boarders, I should say. Some boarders have more than one horse. Each horse gets a little bit of hay each day, 3 times a day. The status quo is the person that drives around throwing the hay from their equipment, in this case, a side-by-side, into the pen for the hay, right? Same thing we've always done. Why would we change that? Well, it didn't take me very long to notice as I drove around the property, because I've got a fresh set of eyes, that every day that person that is throwing that hay in the pen, status quo, is dropping a lot of hay. And when you look at the property, there's a lot of hay on the ground everywhere in front of all these paddocks where they store the horses. Again, why am I telling you this? Because the status quo, the do things as we've always done, is costing them a ton of money. Because the quick math is, if they've dropped a quarter of a flake of hay for every feeding, and they've got 50 paddocks, that adds up real fast. Now, if we're going to have a shortage of hay, right now we're paying $10 a bale. If it goes up to $15 to $18 a bale, all of a sudden I'm going to have a massive problem later in the year financially, because the little things that we've let slide by because it was the status quo, the way that they feed the horses. So when you step away from your business and you look to reset, go in and look for that hay on the floor. Find the pennies that are laying around and get away from the status quo or the way things have always been done. Or, as I started this particular topic, getting out of the comfort zone to maybe do a little bit different, maybe be a little bit tougher on the staff, or retrain, or find a better way to do it, even though it might be a little bit harder. Okay, so get out of our comfort zones. In this case, this is going to be a tough conversation for the owner with the feeding crew, because they've been here months, maybe a couple of years, doing the same thing every time. And all of a sudden they go, what do you mean? I got to be careful throwing the hay in. I know what I'm doing. Yeah, but you're wasting a lot on the ground, right? So that's not going to be a comfortable conversation, but getting out of the comfort zone not only will save us money now, but will save us money down the road and hopefully preserve our hay allotment through the winter. Okay. A lot of people wonder, sidebar on this topic, how In-N-Out Burger and its employees make so much money. And it's because they always find the hay on the ground, those pennies. When you go there and you order a fry, they give you 1 salt packet per fry. That's just part of their deal. You get a salt packet per fry. You get 1 napkin per item of food. You have to ask for ketchup if you want it. And if you do ask for it, they're allowed to give you 2 ketchups per fry. And then if you ask for more, they'll give you more. The reason why is, and I've worked for In-N-Out for over 20 years, probably 25 years, because a packet of ketchup costs 3 cents. So if I'm handing out a handful of ketchup to every customer, that's a quarter, right? And they realize that adds up fast, especially now that they've got over 450 stores. They're giving out packets of ketchup all day that they didn't need to. That's a lot of money on the table that they're giving away. So dial in your business, get out of the comfort zone, reset, look at where those pennies are at, make yourself some more money. Okay, next part of resetting. Set smart goals. Set smart goals. Okay, don't just go and set new goals to set new goals because we're talking about this, but really look at your business and set smart goals which fall within your framework of your business and try to make them measurable and look at the ability to achieve them over a period of time. It's okay to always have those, pie in the sky goals way out there, but set a ladder of achievements to get you there so that they're measurable and they make sense. Okay. Those are smart goals. Goals that everybody can easily understand are also important. I get these reports now from the ranch over there from Purina. It's one of the suppliers that sends us feed. And once a week, they have a special. Buy this, buy that, and you're going to get this price. It's like receiving a foreign language on a 5-page document every single week. So my goal is to make more money over there. But when I get the information from Purina, I can't even understand what the deal is because there's so many components to it that it doesn't make sense to me as a reader. And that often happens in our goals with your staff or with your partners, whether that's your spouse or your literal business partner, whatever. If you've got goals and they're not smart and achievable and well-defined where you can explain it and they can understand it, then they're not very good goals. Don't do what Purina is doing to all their vendors and making it too complicated to get a discount on what they're already buying. Because chances are, well, I'll tell you what I'm doing. I'm not buying more from Purina. I'm buying more from the other brands that have clear, concise ways that I can save some money. And the tools are right there without me having to, take a new language class to figure it out. So make smart goals. Once you've done those things to reset, so we talked about, values, priorities. Number 1, assess your current goals. Number 2, find some inspiration. Number 3, step out of your comfort zone. Number 4, set smart goals. Number 5, number 6, seek support. Okay. Find people that are going to be out there that will support you. I love when I have goals and I just speak them out loud so other people hold me accountable for that. Right. Hey, weren't you going to do this? Isn't that part of what you guys are trying to achieve over there? So by doing that, oftentimes I get the support from those people as well because they're holding me accountable. But then they're also, if you've got a good network of friends, they're there to support you. This is also important to know. That's what we're here for. The community in this group is to support you in what you're trying to do. If you weren't on early, Doug was. This is the second week in the group. I reminded Doug, we're here for him. We want to be that support for whatever he's trying to do. I know a number of you on the call, we've had a lot of one-on-one in the last year, and we've seen your businesses not only start up, but thrive and have a lot of success, and the questions keep coming. So always seek support and know as a fact that your support is also here, at least from the founders here. But I haven't seen anybody in this community that wasn't willing and able to support the rest of the members. So find that support, get it. It's here if you want it. And then finally, and I think this is important about the reset, and it goes along with this topic in general, and that is be flexible. Be flexible. And I don't just mean flexible in paper. I need to tweak this goal, make it a little bit more achievable. I mean, be flexible in your mindset. Don't get stuck in a rut that I just have to do this, even though it might not feel right. Maybe your gut's telling you it's not the right thing to be doing. Be flexible in your mind to find the right path, to have the right goals, to have the right values. Be flexible. There's too many of us that aren't flexible in the way we do things, the way we set out to achieve them, or the things that we think are important, right? Be flexible in those things. I want to go back to the vacation aspect real quick. While you gather any questions you might have or anything about your own business that have nothing to do with this, I'm happy to answer those questions. Rod, I'll defer to you in a second. But I just want to give you a reminder of the importance of taking some time off and rest if it's needed. It's okay. And the reason why I want to remind you of that is if you spend any time on social media, whatever platform, even LinkedIn has gotten bad now. You've got so many people out there promoting their success, and I don't want to call it bragging because I don't know the people behind it, but you see them with their fancy car, their big numbers of sales, or the new client, or they're flying on a vacation on the private jet, or whatever that looks like, whatever you're being exposed to, those are their truths. They're not your truths. And if that's not what your goal and objective is, then don't chase after something that is meaningless to you, especially if you find yourself there and you've made too many sacrifices to get there. Because then you've missed the point. You've missed the value segment of the conversation, right? So I really want you to take a look at what your reset could be if you need it, and reset it the right way so that you're not chasing something that society tells you need to have, and you're chasing after that, when the reality is all you need to do is just take another nap with your daughter or with your wife, or watch the sunset, because it's too easy to get caught in the trap. Would I like to have more things? Sure. Would I like to have more money in the bank? Sure. But what I'm not lacking is time with my family, which is my top priority. So I can rest a lot easier knowing that, and not worrying so much about, how many clients I have, how much stuff I have, and what my bank account looks like. So Rod, do you want to weigh in on this? I know we had a podcast the other day about it, and I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Well, first, I'm going to start backwards, because being flexible is so important. That's number one. You just can't get in that rut, because that's where it starts. Not being flexible gets you in a rut. When you're in a rut, you're going to start leaving pennies on the ground, or worse yet, stepping over dimes to pick up pennies. Right? You can't lose sight of the big picture or the little picture. And I talked about that last week, looking at your business from the nano level. So it ties right into that. Secondly, the sharing with others, that is so important, because it gives you a chance to vent. And I guarantee you, if you're talking to another business person or somebody in this coaching consulting group, we're a lot cheaper, okay, than going to a professional psychologist. Sometimes you just need to vent and get it out. And it's okay to be vulnerable when you're sharing problems in your business or your personal life or whatever, and find that safe space. And just know that it's okay to get that outside counsel. So many of us spend too much time in our head, and we get stuck there. And when you get into that place, sometimes you need someone to drag you out of it. And I can tell you, a few weeks ago, I was on the phone with Jim. We were talking about something. I was kind of having a down day and a bad day. And, Jim, you told me, hey, you're being too hard on yourself. Just stop it. And I just needed someone else to tell me to, move on. And sometimes we just need that extra nudge. And my wife had told me that. Several other people had told me that. But I needed to hear it one more time from a different source for it to make my move, right? So don't discount that. The other thing, the guilt you talked about, we feel guilty for taking time off, guilty for not answering emails, for not looking at that stuff. Guilt will suck your productivity more than taking a vacation, right? It really will. So just know that and put that into perspective. And the last thing I'm going to say is, you talked about values, and sometimes we have to reassess our values. And although our values never change, sometimes we have to reprioritize where they're at. And in mine, it's always been, God, family, health, and then move on down the road. And in the last little bit, I've been forced to put health at the top of the list, because if I don't do what I have to do health wise, my family's not going to have me here. So it's been a complete reset for me, and a forced reset. I would rather have you guys do a reset that you're in control of and in charge of than having a forced reset, right? Having someone come in saying, hey, well, this is your final, you owe so much in taxes, you're going to have to liquidate to pay them, right? It would be a heck of a lot better to consult with someone and be flexible and realign things before it gets to where someone else is in charge of those decisions. So just know that if you don't take this time, it may be taken from you. And that's not a spot we want to be in. So I see a couple of hands up. That's really the biggest part of what I got away from that, Jim, is we really do need to take that time.
Thanks, Rod. Hey, Chris, you were first. Go ahead and unmute and lower your hand, Chris. Thanks.
So on the Sunday of Lions Den Live, William Lamb spoke. This is in regards to your goals. And he gave us a program that he has. It's a 21-day program that I just started listening to. And he talks about having 90-year goals. Start off with your first 10 years of your goals, and you need to be specific with them. Sean talks about that all the time. You got to be specific. But then after your first 10 years, you do your goals, then you go every decade. And every year, go back and revisit your goals. And his program's called Upgrade, just to basically upgrade your mind. I'd never heard about it before, but just looking into some of the stuff, it's just another way to think. And I haven't done it yet, but it seems like it'll be something beneficial. And if I do look back at when I've had, life boards or whatever you want to call them, to where you look at your goals and whatnot, I've achieved most of those goals. And then you go, well, do you need to make them higher? I don't really want them to be bigger or broader. I just want them to continue on a similar level, right? A lot of what I want to do is what you talk about. I want freedom. I'm sitting in traffic right now, wasting my time, when if I can do something else and make a few dollars more in a shorter amount of time, I get more freedom to be with my family, to take the time to break. I don't want, for my watch company, I don't want 200 million in inventory. I don't want to chase 25 employees and network marketing and this whole giant uptick. I want to be able to manage my money as I see fit to have it come and go. And I think when you take that 90-year plan, none of us are likely to live to be 90 years older than we are now, but it just makes you achieve the goals for yourself and then potentially for your family in the future. It's not just about you in the next 15 minutes. It's about the mindset of growing it bigger. And this is all new to me. I never listened to any of this. Dude, I had chances a long time ago to see Tony Robbins 20-some years ago when I was working as a graphic designer and an advertising company for the movie industry, and I thought it was hogwash. I regret not going now with what I've seen as I've gotten older, but in the end of the day, got to keep your mind open and expand, and that's what you said with resetting, and it's true.
Awesome. Thanks, Chris. Couple things that Chris said, and when we look back at all the coulda, shouldas, looking back at if we would have listened to Tony Robbins when we first heard him when we were all kids, we'd probably be in a different place. The point that I want to make about that too is, this stuff isn't new. The things that we're talking about is not new, but it's our own ability to put those tools in play in our own lives. And if you get nothing else from being a member in this group and the community and these calls, these are reminders to put these tools in place now. So in 10 years from now, you're not looking back going, man, I should have wrote my goals down. Man, I should have focused on my family or my values then, because I would be in a different place today. And that's where we always talk about, we paid the dummy tax so you don't have to. I'm here to remind you, please write down your values, build your goals around those values. You'll be a lot more satisfied with your life. I like that Chris brought up the 90-year plan. I hadn't heard of a 90-year plan. I always work with my clients in a 5-year segment. You know, what does it look like today, 3 years, and then 5 years? Because I think that's a good window of achievement. I wouldn't be opposed. You know, I'm thinking about it right now. I would love to have a plan that builds out when I've got grandkids, what does my life look like then? How do I make sure that I'm in the right spot at that time, you know, in all things, physically and financially, and free time, having the freedom to do what I want to do with those kids. I especially like that Chris heard that on stage, because somebody who was on the stage this last weekend, literally one of the speakers told me, Jim, I live in the moment. I don't have a 5-year plan. I don't need one. And I completely disagree with that. That's his philosophy, and that's fine. But I like when I hear influencers talk about building a long-term plan, because it's so important for us to look at our lives over a period of time to make a difference in it. You can't move a steamship, you know, on a dime. It takes time to move that, and your life is very similar to that. So, Taylor, you've got your hand up. Go for it.
Hello.
Hi.
It's really good to be here. I've been gone for several weeks, I think, between children's birthdays and lots of other things, getting started with our homeschooling year and stuff. Everything that was talked about tonight, wow, just so timely for me. But really quick, I did want to share some wins, kind of / thank yous, because this group really is incredible. I've built so many connections, and it's just so full of really genuine people and that know what they're talking about. Jim, Rod, and Rachel, obviously. So recently, Rachel shared, and I wasn't even on this call, but I was told about it later on. But Rachel shared a link to a publication, like you would submit an application to a publication. I don't know if that's ringing a bell for anybody. I did it, and they did interview me anyway, and I got some good stuff out of that. Excuse me. I got some good stuff out of that, and I'm like, wow, everything you guys talk about and you instruct people to do, it works. I mean, I've gotten a sale just from sharing my interview. And then I've been in contact with Bruce. So thank you, Bruce, for just being so genuine. And we're kind of in a similar industry. So, you know, it's just so fun to just be able to feed off of one another. So thank you, everybody in the group. And thank you, Rod and Jim. I don't see Rachel on here tonight, but I just wanted to share that win, and also just share some transparency that, well, first of all, it's difficult for me to share, like you guys were just talking about. Like, sometimes you just need to get your thoughts out there to bounce off of people. And that's hard for me, because when I do things, I want to do them with a purpose. And so sometimes sharing, I'm like, what is the point to that? Because I feel like I can come up with answers in my own head, but that's just not quite how it works. So I just want to share that building a business and growing has been hard. Like, it's really hard for me. I never expected to be #1 in the industry that I'm in, and it's very new. It's very different. So while I've done a lot of things in my life, this is wildly different from anything else I've ever done before. And to be honest, I feel like I'm growing up all over again. So with that, I have a lot of, I have like insecurity. Every choice I make, I'm like, oh my goodness, did I do it wrong? You know? And so I'm overthinking, and I know I am. But I don't know. Maybe you guys have like tools to find your chill. I don't know. But I just wanted to be transparent about that. I know it's all good things. I know it's part of the growth process, but I mean, I was telling my dad about it the other day. I'm like, every decision I make, like there will be a moment of silence between me and somebody that I'm working a business deal with. And I'm like, oh no, they hate me. What did I do? Anyway, okay, I'm done. Thank you for listening.
Taylor, thank you. Find your chill is, reach out to somebody in the community and just say, look, I'm so frustrated. I pitched this guy 4 days ago. He said I'd hear back from him in 24 hours. It's been 40, people have their own agendas. You have yours, they have theirs, and we all work within our own timelines. I think where the chill is at is have confidence in what you're doing and know that you're doing the best job possible. And if it fits, great. If it doesn't, then it wasn't meant to be. And I appreciate you sharing. Yes, being in business for yourself is hard, but you will find yourself in places that you've never been. It's been really fun to watch you from start to finish. Literally, you started this business after you were a member. So we're thrilled to watch you go and hear about your successes. So congratulations to you. Bruce, you had your hand up. Go for it.
Hey, Jim, thanks. Rod, thanks. One of the things I sort of been going through this reset thing on my own today, realizing I'm not happy with where I am, and some of our discussions have led into that. That said, one of the things that's been helpful to me, and especially talking about some of your self-doubt, Taylor, is a book called The Untethered Soul by Michael A. Singer. It's pretty easy to read. It's only a couple hundred pages, but it talks about letting go of some of this stuff. The Untethered Soul. I'm about halfway through it. My wife and son have read it, and it's really had a lot of applicable lessons. So just food for thought. So thanks for letting me share.
Yeah, Bruce, thank you. Appreciate that. And by the way, if you're trying to do a reset and you're not happy, or you're trying to figure out, make 2 columns. This is where I think I'm at. This is where I could be, and then use those columns to reach out, for that support, whether that's through us or somebody else. Go, hey, this is where I'm at. I'm trying to do a reset. What do you think? So, Fred, we'll go to you, then we'll go to you, Doug. Go ahead, Fred.
All right. Hey, guys. Thanks for having me. Sorry I'm late, but I jumped in, and the topic is right in line with what I got going on in life as we speak. So the reset, and Taylor, I share the same, feelings of doubt and uncertainty on certain things. Making decisions in a business, when you get to make them all, is a lot different than making a few decisions here and there. But this is not my first rodeo, so I'm going back through it again. But so the reset is super important. Right now, I'm going through with a different point of view on building the business, and I've called Jim and have numerous conversations, and I'll call him about things that are kind of a level maybe 6 and above for me, things that keep me up at night. Structuring a new business, considering whether I bring partners in, and then I'm having to ask myself whether or not that meets my personal goals. I'm kind of in line with Chris. I don't need the biggest business with hundreds of employees. So I'm looking at it from a completely different perspective. So along with the reset going down the road this time, I'm going, what are my non-negotiables in this business? And I've decided, after the conversations that Jim's helped me with, is I've decided I don't want partners. But in not wanting partners, I've got to really take a stance and double down on Fred Castro.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a price for everything, right? So what I've been doing lately is I'm taking a couple steps back, because there's things in the business that I don't like to do, I don't want to do, and I'll delegate. And those seem to be the areas that will come back to bite you. So when it comes to accounting, finance, today I had a meeting with an accounting firm to get my books in line, to make sure that I operate under the right entity that's set up for not only me today, but for my family long term, and looking at how we're organizing the financial structure of the business. So I've made a commitment and doubling down on myself and my family, keeping the business within, making sure we're in alignment, meeting our goals. And one of the things that, I want to make sure that I'm willing to do the work, to take a couple steps back and learn the hard things. They're not hard. They're just another hurdle in the 50 decisions you got to make a day. So I've said, okay, this time around, I'm going to do those things because historically, those are the things that have kind of got me in trouble because I want to be in control. Not that I'm a control freak, but I need to have enough control over my business that I control this destiny for myself and my family. So, and wrapping this up, when I came to the conclusion that my business partners are my wife and my kids, my decision process got the decision process got a lot easier for me. Because if it doesn't align with my core values, and like I said, I don't need be a billionaire. It's not my goal. If it happens, great, but that's not my end game. So, but I look at it as, the people that are my business partners are my wife, my daughter, and my son. End of story. And we make decisions based on that. And, no matter how you slice it, you got to put in the work. So doubling down on me and believing in myself enough to do it, even though I've been down the road before. You got to constantly, it's the landscape's ever changing. And anytime there's doubt, it's like you got to take more action to get through the gray areas, and it'll eventually become clear. It's like playing the guitar. You try to stretch for a chord, it doesn't work, it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Then one day, all of a sudden, you can make that D chord or the B chord or the bar chord, and it just flows. And before you know it, you're making music. So anyways, I wanted to share that and also thank the group because I believe that there's a certain amount of authenticity that comes from this group, and I appreciate that. On social media, I get tired of seeing, some of the guys that are bozos, claiming big stories. I saw the big event over the weekend. There's a guy, something Lopez, Ty Lopez. I thought he got put in jail, but he's back at these events, promoting new programs. So not a fan, but I just like real, true, authentic people, and I feel at home in this group. So thank you guys.
Fred, thanks for sharing, by the way. I love that line, non-negotiable. And I want to just encourage you, when you write down your values for business, make them non-negotiable, because your goals for business and personal will be so crystal clear if you know exactly what that is. And I've known Fred all 5 years that I've been consulting and coaching. And well, I knew him much longer than that, but Fred, this isn't a selfish thing for Fred. He's not going, oh, it's all about me. Fred is fine-tuned where he's going with his businesses. So Fred, I'm proud of you, and I love hearing that. So thanks for sharing. Doug, go ahead. Just unmute.
Hey guys, just want to say thanks for having me part of the group. Look forward to getting to know everyone a little bit better here. Just kind of going on to Jim's topic of the reset and taking a break. I kind of had one of those moments a couple weeks ago. I went out to the Lions Den Live in Salt Lake City. Had no business going there. Leaving my business alone right now. It's the busiest I've ever been in 25 years. But I just I have to do it. I'm going to have a complete nervous breakdown if I don't. So I busted it for 3 days. Probably the 3 most productive, best days I've had of my career. Just getting away when I really needed to get away. But B, just ran into some really interesting people. Chris mentioned the one gentleman, God, I can't think of his name, William Lamb, with the upgrade program he promotes. And I kind of had a little aha eureka moment, I guess, with it. And it kind of goes along with the whole setting your goals and everything. And he kind of mentioned something about getting out of your comfort zone, and not many people do. And people who do get out of their comfort zone tend not to get out of their comfort zone for very long. Why? Because it sucks. And they don't do it, and they don't stick with it, and they fall back into their comfort zone. And the aha moment was, he says, it sucks because you didn't set your goal high enough to make the reward worthwhile to get out of your comfort zone. And for me, that was like, oh my God. There was a gentleman sitting next to me who was almost in tears. And he's like, I've been just chasing my tail for 30 years. Oh my God. Like This was his kind of come to Jesus moment. But yeah, Chris Lamb, the upgrade, his upgrade program was, yeah, wonderful, wonderful.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing, Doug.
Yeah.
And you know, that's part of that. You know, my last bullet points there was finding inspiration. So I appreciate that members of this group are going to different events and finding that inspiration to continue working down the path that you're on and having those aha moments. Talking about comfort zone, by the way, since I started this, or since Rod and I started doing this, not I, but Rod and I started doing this, after every group call, we call each other to talk about the call and what was good, what was bad. The best calls we have is when y'all get out of your comfort zone and speak and talk about what's going on or what your successes are, Taylor, or what direction you're going or what you learned, Doug, at an event. So I want to thank you guys for getting out of your comfort zone on these calls, because every single one of us gets something out of your voice. When you're willing to speak up, we get something out of that. And that's how we all become better as people. We build that connectivity that Fred said that he's appreciative of having this group because he's been here long enough to build some relationships. So thank you for getting out of your comfort zone and using your voice tonight. And I hope that you continue doing that on these calls. So if there's no other questions, we're going to wrap that up. I will say, Jocelyn, who wasn't here tonight, she listens to all these calls on recording. So Jocelyn, thank you for that. She's got a book coming out called The Voice Inside, and she's really excited about that. And I just wanted to tell everybody to keep their eye out for that. She was at the Limitless event this weekend. We've got several authors in this group that have written some books, including Rachel's got one coming out. Rod's got an incredible book. It's why we're friends, the Warpath Alliance. You can find that on our document, our book library on the Young Entrepreneur Syndicate. To the community platform real quick. We are on the Jadari platform owned by Sean Whalen. They had a real bad glitch last week. So if you go on there, you'll notice there's a whole bunch of photos that you might have posted. They're gone. So they've worked through that. I don't know if the photos you posted will come back, but that's the deal with that. It was on the platform side. So they were very apologetic, but encourage everybody to jump on the platform, say hi to one another, and connect, ask those questions that you're looking for and be aligned. So everybody have an awesome week. It's Monday. Get after it. Look at what that reset looks like for you. If you want a little bit more of this dialogue, check out the podcast that Rod and I did about the reset. Go to The Answers Yes podcast, any platform. And that was the show that was published today. So good to see everybody. See you next week.
Good night, everyone.